Welcome to Empower Edge, where we decode the Bible to help you break out of the matrix and unlearn the lies you were told. The Bible was not literal. It was a story about you, so we are here to break it down for you. The story of Adam and Eve. You've been told it's about sin, disobedience, a fall from grace. But what if that's a lie? What if it was never a literal story, but a coded message about you, about consciousness, awakening, and the human journey? Adam and Eve represent the duality within each of us, the masculine and feminine energies, the conscious and subconscious minds, logic and intuition, order and chaos. This is not a historical tale. It's a map of the human soul and the awakening of self-awareness. So why the lies? Because once you realize this story is about your divine nature, the entire control matrix falls apart. If you knew you were already God in form, you couldn't be manipulated by fear, sin, or guilt. Keeping it literal equals power for the few. Seeing it symbolically equals liberation for all. Adam equals divine masculine/logic/structure. Adam comes from the Hebrew Adamah, meaning earth, the physical grounded form. He represents the thinking mind, the part that names, orders, and tries to understand reality. Eve, our divine feminine, intuition, creation. Formed from Adam's rib, a poetic way to say she emerges from within consciousness, not a separate being. Eve is intuition, emotion, connection to the unknown, the womb of awakening. She's blamed for the fall, but really, she's the catalyst for evolution. The tree? That's not just fruit. It's the tree of knowledge, of good and evil, of duality, of separation from the all. Eating the fruit wasn't a sin. It was an initiation. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil is symbolic of polarized perception. Eating the fruit, moving from unity consciousness, innocence, into duality, judgment, comparison, shame. In other words, the fall wasn't a sin. It was the beginning of human awareness. We went from animals, instinctual, unconscious, to beings who could reflect. But with reflection came fear, shame, ego, separation. And the serpent? Not evil, not a devil. The serpent has always been sacred. In ancient cultures, it represents Kundalini, the coiled life force, the spark of divine awakening. The serpent says, "You are not just flesh. You are gods who've forgotten yourselves." The serpent tempts Eve because she is the feminine, the inner gateway to awakening. The serpent is basically saying, "You are not just bodies. You are gods who've forgotten yourselves. Taste and remember." When Adam and Eve ate the fruit, their eyes were opened. Activation of self-awareness. They became aware. The ego was born. Shame, fear, separation. They didn't fall from God. They fell into consciousness. Once they ate the fruit, they became aware of their nakedness, a symbol of ego, shame, vulnerability, separation from source. It marks the birth of the ego, the sense of I and other. Eden is not a place. It's a state of being, unity, oneness, unconscious peace. They were cast out, not as punishment, but because now they had to journey, to evolve, to remember. You were never meant to stay in Eden. You were meant to return to it, consciously, as a sovereign being, awake, aware, whole. The story of Adam and Eve is not about shame. It's a story of remembrance, a call to wake up, because Eden was never outside of you. The Adam and Eve story is the metaphor for the fall into consciousness and the path of returning to wholeness. We were sent out of Eden not to suffer, but to eventually return, consciously, awakened, embodied in truth. We left unity to rediscover it as sovereign beings. The next video, I will go even deeper on how Eve was actually the hero and how Eve did not doom the world like we were told. Stay powerful. See you in the next video.